Daniel never thought his love for music would carry him beyond Earth. He had always been a quiet man, living in a small town where the nights were filled with stars and silence. He played music on an old piano in his family home, filling the rooms with soft melodies. To him, music was more than sound. It was memory, comfort, and voice. One night, while the world slept, something unusual happened. A strange light descended from the sky. Daniel stepped outside, looking up in wonder. A ship, larger than any building, floated silently above the trees. Its surface shimmered like glass touched by starlight. Before he could even move, a beam of gentle blue light surrounded him. He felt himself lifted from the ground. His heart raced, but strangely, he felt no pain. In the next moment, Earth disappeared beneath him, and the endless dark of space opened before his eyes. Daniel found himself inside the ship. The walls glowed faintly, not from lamps but from veins of light running like streams across smooth metal. The air was cool and clean. Around him stood beings unlike anything he had seen. They were tall, their skin smooth and pale with faint patterns like ripples on water. Their eyes were large and silver, reflecting light as if they were mirrors. They watched him with calm curiosity, not anger or cruelty, but with a strange sense of superiority. "Human," one of them spoke. The voice echoed not through sound alone but inside Daniel's mind. "You are far from your home. Do not fear. You are here because of your songs." Daniel blinked, confused. "Songs?" he asked softly. The alien leader stepped forward. This one was taller than the rest, draped in a robe of silver fabric that shifted colors with each movement. "Your planet has sent signals into the void. Among them, we heard music. Strange tones unlike any we have known. Crude but powerful. We wish to see if the makers of such sounds truly understand them." Daniel's heart pounded. The idea that his world's music had traveled through the universe amazed him. But he was just one man, a simple musician. Why would they take him? He was guided through the corridors of the ship. The halls were vast, with doors that opened at a thought. Finally, they reached a chamber unlike any he had imagined. It was a grand hall, larger than a stadium, filled with instruments of alien design. Some hung in the air, vibrating without strings. Others glowed with soft light, their shapes shifting like living things. The air itself seemed alive with faint hums, as if the room carried endless notes waiting to be touched. "This is our hall of resonance," the leader explained. "Here we keep the sounds of 1,000 worlds. Each race has left behind its music, its art. Now, human, you will see what your kind is capable of." Daniel walked slowly, his eyes wide. He felt both awe and fear. The instruments looked fragile yet powerful. Some were taller than him, reaching to the ceiling. Others were small, no larger than a pebble, yet they glowed with hidden energy. His footsteps echoed, reminding him of the small piano room back on Earth. For the first time, he felt how small he was in a galaxy filled with countless voices. As Daniel explored, laughter rippled among the aliens gathered there. Their silver eyes gleamed with amusement. One of them whispered to another, their voices like low chimes. "The human is small. His hands will not reach the tones. He will fail." Another added, "Let him try. It will be entertainment." Daniel heard their words even if he could not understand every sound. He felt the tone. They did not respect him. He was not a guest in their eyes. He was a curiosity, perhaps even a joke. Still, he did not let anger rise. He reminded himself of the nights when he played music not for others but for himself. Music had always been about truth, not pride. At the far end of the hall stood the most striking instrument of all. It was enormous, shaped like a half-circle rising from the ground, its surface lined with thousands of silver threads that shone like starlight. Small crystal pieces floated around it, circling gently, each humming with a different tone. The instrument seemed alive, breathing softly with sound. That, the leader said with pride, is the zenitone. Forged from the breath of stars. No creature outside our kind has ever played it with meaning. Even among us, few can make it sing. It is said to reveal the heart of the one who touches it. The aliens turned their silver eyes toward Daniel. One of them stepped forward, smiling faintly in a way that was more mocking than kind. Human. Try it. Show us your earth sound. Or will you tremble before the zenitone? The hall filled with laughter. Their voices echoed like bells, sharp and cold. Daniel felt heat rise in his chest, not from shame but from the weight of their scorn. He looked at the zenitone again, its shining threads calling to him. The air around it vibrated faintly, as if it were waiting for his touch. He took a slow breath. I will try, he said simply. His voice did not shake. The laughter quieted for a moment. The leader raised a hand, and the room grew silent. Then let the human play. Daniel stepped forward. His feet echoed on the smooth floor as he walked to the great instrument. His hands trembled slightly, but he remembered the piano keys back home, the feeling of wood beneath his fingers, the way music flowed when he closed his eyes and let his heart lead. The zenitone towered above him. Its silver threads glimmered like the night sky he used to watch as a boy. Daniel raised his hands, fingers hovering just above the strange strings. The aliens leaned forward, waiting for him to stumble. But Daniel was not afraid now. In that moment, he remembered his mother's lullaby, the soft rain on his window, and the joy of playing music when no one else listened. He placed his hands gently on the threads. The zenitone stirred, glowing faintly beneath his touch. The first note rose into the air, not broken, not clumsy, but clear and deep. The hall, filled with mocking voices only moments ago, fell into silence. The first note from the zenitone still hung in the air when Daniel opened his eyes. The aliens around him were no longer laughing. Their silver eyes reflected the glow of the great instrument, and though they tried to look amused, there was tension in their movements. Some tilted their heads, others folded their long arms, as if unsure what they had just heard. Daniel had not even begun to play properly. He had only touched the strings. Yet the sound had been clear, warm, and strange in a way the aliens had not expected. He lowered his hands, waiting to see what they would do next. The leader of the gathering, the tall one with the robe of silver fabric, lifted a hand. His voice flowed smoothly through Daniel's mind. Curious. The zenitone responded. Few outsiders have even produced a sound. Perhaps your kind carries some small connection to resonance. But do not think this proves anything. To play the zenitone is to reveal the truth of your spirit. Another alien stepped forward, slimmer than the rest, with a sharp tone in its voice. Let the human attempt more. It will amuse us further. If he fails, we will know earth sounds are no more than accidents of noise. Their words carried mockery, but Daniel did not shrink. He had heard such tones before on earth, when people had dismissed him as a simple pianist with no future. He had learned not to answer with anger but with music. The leader turned to the crowd. Shall the human be tested? A chorus of chime-like voices filled the hall. Yes. Test him. Let him try. Daniel took a slow breath, his heart heavy but steady. He thought of his small home back on earth. He thought of nights when he sat by the piano with no audience, playing for the stars beyond his window. If the aliens wanted to see his spirit, he would not hide it. One alien approached him, this one older, its skin patterns deeper and glowing faintly. It placed a long hand near the zenitone. The crystals floating around the instrument shifted, circling faster, their hum rising in pitch. The hall seemed to breathe. The zenitone is ready, the elder said. Play, human. Play so we may judge. The aliens gathered close now, their tall figures surrounding him like walls of silver and white. Their eyes reflected his small shape, making him feel even smaller. Some smiled faintly, expecting failure. Others watched in silence, curious but not yet convinced. Daniel closed his eyes. He remembered what the leader had said. The zenitone revealed the truth of the one who touched it. That thought frightened him for a moment. What truth would it show? That he was only a man, far from home, uncertain and weak compared to the beings around him? Or would it reveal something more? He let the fear fall away. He had always believed music was not about skill alone. It was about honesty. It was about the heart. Slowly, he placed his hands on the glowing threads once more. The first sound rose again, but this time Daniel did not stop. He moved his fingers carefully, as if the zenitone were another piano waiting for its melody. A low hum spread through the hall, followed by a gentle rise of notes, like a soft stream flowing across stone. The aliens leaned forward. Some tilted their heads, listening. Their expressions were mixed, part curiosity, part disbelief. The leader's silver eyes narrowed, watching every motion. Daniel continued. He thought of his childhood, when he first touched the old piano keys. He thought of his father listening quietly after long days of work, and his mother humming as she cooked in the kitchen. The zenitone seemed to respond to those memories. Its threads glowed brighter, its crystals vibrating with light. The sound grew deeper, filling the hall with echoes that touched the walls and ceiling. The aliens whispered among themselves. Daniel could not understand their words, but he felt the shift in tone. No longer mocking, their voices carried confusion. Then, one alien laughed. It was sharp, meant to break the moment. He copies sound. That is all. He does not understand the true depth of resonance. Watch. Soon he will stumble. The others joined in, their laughter ringing like bells, though softer than before. Daniel heard them. He kept his eyes closed, refusing to let their laughter guide him. Instead, he remembered the sound of rain on his window back home, steady and calm. He played that memory into the zenitone. The instrument's voice shifted, dropping into a rhythm that sounded like falling drops of water, echoing gently across the chamber. The laughter died away again. For a long while, the hall filled only with music. Daniel's hands moved slowly, not with the skill of a master but with the honesty of a man who loved every sound. The zenitone answered him, weaving his emotions into something larger than himself. When he finally stopped, silence returned. His hands rested at his sides, his breathing heavy. He opened his eyes and looked around. The aliens were no longer mocking. Their silver eyes were wide, and their bodies seemed tense. Some stood frozen, as if they did not know what to say. The leader remained still, his robe shifting colors slowly. At last, the leader spoke. Unexpected. This human carries feeling in his sound. We mock him, yet the zenitone has chosen to answer. His voice lowered, almost thoughtful. Perhaps there is more to these Earth people than we believed. Another alien frowned. Do not praise too soon. He has made sound, but sound is not meaning. Let him face the next invitation. Let us see if he can play not only his memories but his truth. The leader turned his eyes back to Daniel. You have surprised us, human. But this was only the first step. We will not decide your worth yet. Tomorrow, before the full council, you will play again. Then we will know if you are truly a voice worth hearing. The crowd began to move, their tall shapes gliding back through the great hall. Their whispers filled the air, some mocking still, others uncertain. Daniel stood alone before the zenitone, the glow fading as the crystals slowed their orbit. His chest was tight, but not with fear. He felt something stronger, a quiet determination. He had played for himself, and in doing so, he had touched something even these proud beings could not ignore. As the aliens left the chamber, the elder paused beside him. Its silver eyes softened for a moment. Do not lose your heart, human. The Zenitone responds to more than skill. It listens to truth. Then it turned and followed the others, leaving Daniel in silence. Daniel placed his hand once more on the cool threads of the Zenitone. For a brief second, the instrument glowed faintly beneath his touch, as if encouraging him. He smiled softly. He knew tomorrow would be harder. The aliens would expect more than sound. They would expect meaning. And he would give it to them. The morning aboard the alien ship came without sunrise. There was no dawn, no warmth of light through windows. Instead, the halls brightened slowly as if the walls themselves awakened. Daniel rose from the small chamber they had given him. The bed was a soft surface of glowing fabric that shaped itself to his body. The air was fresh and cool, carrying a faint hum that seemed to come from the ship itself. He had not slept much. His mind had been full of thoughts of the Zenitone. He remembered the glow beneath his hands, the way the sound had flowed not from skill alone but from memory and feeling. He knew that today he would stand before the full council of the aliens. He would be tested not with a single song but with the expectation to prove what music truly meant to humans. The door of his chamber opened without touch. An alien stood waiting, tall and pale, with long limbs and silver eyes. Its robe shimmered faintly with patterns that shifted like ripples on water. The voice entered Daniel's mind smoothly. Human, come. The council waits. Daniel followed through the corridors. The ship was silent except for the faint hum that seemed to live in the walls. Strange lights pulsed gently, guiding their path. At last they reached the Hall of Resonance again. Today it was filled with far more aliens than before. Dozens lined the curved seats rising high above the floor. Their eyes shone like mirrors, reflecting his every step. At the center stood the Zenitone. It gleamed brighter than yesterday, as if it too waited for the moment. The floating crystals spun slowly, giving off soft tones like whispers of wind. Daniel felt small, almost invisible beneath the weight of so many eyes. The aliens did not speak, but their silence carried judgment. He thought of how some of them laughed the day before, and how some had fallen silent when he played. Today would decide whether they saw him as a mere curiosity or as something more. The leader rose from his seat. His tall form was draped in silver robes that shifted color with every movement. His voice rang clearly in Daniel's mind. Human Daniel. Yesterday you touched the Zenitone and surprised us. Today you stand before our council. You will play again. But this time, it will not be enough to make sound. You must reveal meaning. The Zenitone will show us who you are. The hall grew still. Daniel stepped forward, his feet echoing on the smooth floor. He looked at the Zenitone towering before him. Its silver threads stretched wide like the arcs of stars. He raised his hands, but this time he hesitated. He remembered the elder's words from yesterday. The Zenitone responds to more than skill. It listens to truth. Daniel closed his eyes. He thought of Earth. He thought of green fields under the sun, of rivers shining under the moon, of children laughing in parks, and of the quiet nights when he sat by the piano, letting his feelings flow into the keys. These were not things the aliens could measure. These were not things of power or pride. They were simple, human truths. He placed his hands on the glowing strings. The first touch sent a deep tone through the hall. It was not harsh or forced. It was soft, like the sound of a distant storm rolling across hills. The Zenitone glowed faintly under his hands, and the crystals vibrated with gentle hums. He moved his fingers slowly. The sound rose higher, like wind flowing through trees. The hall filled with shifting tones that seemed to move around the room, echoing from wall to wall. The aliens leaned forward in their seats. Some narrowed their eyes, others tilted their heads as if the sound stirred something hidden in them. Daniel thought of his mother's lullaby. He remembered sitting at her side as a child, hearing her voice while the rain tapped gently on the windows. He played that memory into the zenitone. The sound softened, becoming tender and calm, like the comfort of safety. The alien stirred. A low murmur moved through the crowd. He did not stop. His fingers moved again, this time faster, sharper. He thought of his struggles as a young man, of nights when he wondered if music would ever mean anything in a world that often overlooked it. The zenitone carried that feeling outward, releasing a sound of longing, of reaching for something just beyond grasp. The tones twisted high, then fell low, before rising again. The aliens shifted in their seats. Some touched their faces as if they did not understand the tightness in their eyes. Others gripped the edges of their robes, their silver reflections trembling faintly. The leader's eyes narrowed, his calm face breaking for a moment. He whispered something to the elder beside him, but even his words carried unease. Daniel felt sweat on his brow. He kept playing. He remembered laughter with his friends, long walks under starlight, the peace of watching fireflies on warm nights. The zenitone sang those moments, filling the hall with warmth. The glowing crystals spun faster now, their light shining across the walls. Then he remembered sorrow. He thought of the day he lost his father, the silence that filled their home, the way music was the only thing that gave comfort when words could not. His hands trembled, but he did not stop. The zenitone carried that memory into sound, a low, heavy tone that shook the floor. The aliens gasped softly. The hall was no longer silent with judgment. It was silent with emotion. Daniel's song rose and fell, carrying joy, sorrow, hope, and loss. He gave them not a performance but a story of his life, told not in words but in tones that reached deeper than language. At last, his hand slowed. The sound faded gently, like the final breath of a wind before calm. The crystals settled into slow circles once more. The zenitone dimmed, its glow soft as a resting star. Daniel lowered his hands and stepped back. His chest rose and fell, his breathing heavy. He looked around the hall. The aliens sat frozen. Their silver eyes shone with faint light, but their faces carried something Daniel had not seen before, uncertainty mixed with feeling. Some lowered their heads as if they did not wish to reveal what they felt. Others touched their eyes, surprised by the wetness there. The leader rose slowly. His robe shifted colors, but his voice was not as calm as before. The zenitone has spoken. This human has brought forth sound that reaches beyond skill. We have felt his truth. This we did not expect. The hall remained silent. No one mocked. No one laughed. Daniel stood quietly, his heart steady. He had not played to win their respect. He had played because music was who he was. And the zenitone had carried his heart farther than he could have dreamed. The hall stayed silent after Daniel's performance. The air was heavy with the echo of the last note, as though the zenitone itself still remembered what had been played. The aliens sat in their high seats, their silver eyes fixed on the human who stood small before the great instrument. No one laughed now. No one mocked. Daniel stood quietly, his hands still tingling from the glow of the zenitone. He felt tired but calm. Music always drained him in this way, not because it was a burden but because it asked for everything inside him. He looked at the aliens and wondered what they truly felt. The leader rose from his place. His robe shifted into deep shades of blue and silver. His voice carried across the chamber, soft but firm. Human, you have given us sound that touched more than our ears. Yet we are not finished. You have shown us fragments of memory and truth. But we ask for something greater. Can you show us the song of your kind, the heart of your species? Not only who you are, but who your people are. The request struck Daniel deeply. He had played for himself before. He had even played to show his own truths. But to play for all of humanity, to represent the spirit of Earth to a council of aliens who had lived for ages. That was more than a performance. It was a responsibility. He looked at the zenitone. Its silver threads shimmered faintly, as though it too waited for his choice. Slowly, Daniel placed his hands on the glowing lines once more. His fingers trembled, but not with fear. He closed his eyes and thought not of himself but of the world he had left behind. He thought of the earth itself. The first sound rose like dawn, soft and golden. The zenitone's voice carried warmth, like the rising sun touching mountains and seas. Daniel imagined the forests of his world, the rivers winding through green valleys, the waves striking shores in endless rhythm. The instrument echoed those images, filling the hall with tones that sounded like wind, water, and the beating of life itself. The aliens leaned forward. Their silver eyes reflected the glow as if the song painted colors they had never seen. Daniel's hands moved faster. He thought of the people of Earth. He remembered children running through fields, their laughter ringing brighter than bells. He remembered old men sitting together, sharing stories under the fading light of day. He remembered workers building homes, teachers guiding students, families holding each other close. All of these memories turned into sound, carried by the zenitone. The hall filled with laughter made into music, with voices turned into harmony. Some of the aliens shifted in their seats. A few touched their hands to their chests, as though something stirred inside that had long been forgotten. The song grew deeper. Daniel thought of struggle. He thought of how humans faced storms, how they endured loss, how they fell but always rose again. The zenitone sang this resilience. Its notes became stronger, rising like a flame that would not die. The walls of the hall vibrated with the sound of human will, a force that could not be silenced. The aliens gasped softly. Their expressions changed, and their silver eyes shimmered with light that seemed close to tears. They were a people who had lived long and seen much, yet in this song they felt something they had not known for centuries. Daniel continued. He thought of love. Not only the love of family but of friends, of strangers helping one another, of kindness shared even in the darkest of times. The zenitone glowed brighter, the crystals spinning faster as they carried those feelings outward. The sound became tender, soft as a gentle hand, yet powerful enough to fill the vast chamber. By now the aliens were no longer still. Some covered their faces, others trembled, and a few closed their eyes as if the sound was too much to bear. Daniel pressed onward. He thought of hope. Humanity's greatest gift, he believed, was not its strength but its belief in tomorrow. He thought of rockets leaving Earth, of explorers crossing seas, of dreamers painting stars in their minds. He poured this into the zenitone. The sound rose higher and higher, a song not of sorrow or fear but of light, reaching beyond limits. The hall shook with the brilliance of the notes. The crystals surrounding the zenitone blazed with color, painting the chamber with shifting rainbows. The aliens stared wide-eyed, bathed in light that felt alive. At last, Daniel let the song soften. He slowed his hands and thought of peace. The tones became quiet, like night after a long day, like the calm of a child asleep, like the stillness of stars watching over Earth. The zenitone dimmed slowly, the crystals slowing their dance until they glided once more in silence. The last note lingered like a breath and faded. Daniel opened his eyes. The hall was silent, but it was not the silence of judgment anymore. It was the silence of hearts too full to speak. The leader stood frozen, his silver eyes bright with a faint shimmer. His robe shifted in colors Daniel had not seen before, shades of pale gold and soft white. Around him, the council members lowered their heads, some wiping their faces with long hands, others clasping their chests as though steadying their hearts. Daniel stepped back from the zenitone, his breathing heavy. He had given everything he had. He did not know if it was enough for them, but he knew it was true. It was the song of his people, not perfect, not without pain, but full of love, strength, and hope. At last, The elder rose. The older alien's voice was soft, trembling slightly as it spoke. Never in our long memory has the Zenitone sung like this. It has revealed not just one life but the voice of an entire world. Human, you have given us more than sound. You have given us truth. The leader nodded slowly, his face still solemn. This song will not be forgotten. It has shown us that humanity carries what many races have lost the power to feel deeply, to rise through sorrow, to love without measure. He looked at Daniel directly. What you played has left us in tears, not of weakness, but of remembrance. You have reminded us of who we once were, and who we may be again. The council fell into silence once more. Daniel stood alone, but he no longer felt small. For the first time, he felt that humanity had spoken through him, and the stars had listened. The night after Daniel's first song still echoed in the halls of the alien ship. Many had spoken about it with surprise and even quiet wonder, but not everyone was ready to accept what they had felt. Some of the alien leaders were uneasy. They were proud of their own culture and did not like the idea that a human could move their people to such emotions with nothing but sound. Daniel did not know what would happen next, but he felt a quiet storm was building around him. He stayed near the room where the Zenitone was kept. The instrument seemed almost alive to him now, as if it had been waiting for him. He ran his hand across its smooth surface and whispered softly, "You still have more to say, don't you?" The next day, an announcement spread across the ship. A special gathering would be held in the main hall. It was larger than any chamber Daniel had seen before, with towering pillars and glowing arcs of energy decorating the walls. The entire crew, hundreds of beings from different parts of the galaxy, would be there. Daniel's heart pounded when he heard the news. When he entered the hall, he felt all eyes turn to him. He could hear whispers in languages he did not know, yet he could feel their meaning. Some were curious, others doubtful, and a few openly mocked. One alien with sharp ridges along his head muttered, "Let us see if the human can do more than one trick." Another said, "Perhaps the first was luck." The leader of the aliens, a tall figure with silver eyes and flowing robes, raised her hand to quiet the room. Her voice was calm but carried great authority. "Daniel of Earth, you have touched the hearts of many with your first song. But one song alone does not show the depth of your people. We ask you to play again. Show us if humanity has true spirit, or if it was only a shadow." Daniel swallowed hard. His hands felt cold. He looked at the Zenitone placed at the center of the hall, its strange strings glowing softly. He knew this was not only about music anymore. It was about proving something deeper. The aliens were testing him, testing humanity itself. He stepped forward. His shoes echoed lightly on the polished floor. Standing before the Zenitone, he closed his eyes and let silence fill the hall. He thought about Earth, about home. He thought of the blue skies after rain, the sound of waves at the beach, the laughter of children in a park, and the steady warmth of his grandmother's old voice when she used to sing to him. When he opened his eyes, he placed his fingers on the strings. This time, he did not try to copy any melody from Earth. He let his emotions guide him. The Zenitone responded in ways he did not expect. Each note rose like light drifting across water. The hall filled with a gentle rhythm, soft at first, like a lullaby carried on the wind. The aliens grew quiet. The mocking voices were gone. The music spoke of longing, of home, of a heart that wished for peace. It grew stronger, telling of hope even in sadness. The strings shimmered with sound like falling stars. Daniel played as if the Zenitone was not an alien instrument at all but a voice waiting for him to give it meaning. His hands moved with freedom, his body swaying with the rise and fall of the tones. He remembered stories of old human explorers, artists, and dreamers. He poured all of that memory into the sound. Some aliens in the crowd lowered their heads. Some closed their eyes. One tall warrior, known for never showing weakness, wiped at his face quickly, hoping no one noticed the tear that had escaped. The leader with the silver eyes remained still, but even she leaned forward slightly, as if pulled closer by the music itself. Daniel's final notes lingered in the air like soft breaths. The zenitone pulsed once more, then grew silent. For a long moment, no one moved. The hall was filled with stillness, heavy and meaningful. Finally, a soft sound rose from the crowd. It was not laughter, not words, but something close to a sigh. Then whispers spread. One alien spoke, voice trembling, "I saw my home in that song." Another said, "I felt the memory of my family long gone." Daniel looked around. His chest rose and fell quickly from the effort. He did not know what they would say, but he knew he had given them the truth of his heart. The silver-eyed leader stood and addressed the hall. Her voice was calm but now carried a softer tone. "The human has shown us not only skill but soul. His music speaks to what is beyond language. It is a bridge across our differences." Some aliens clapped their hands in their way of applause. Others tapped their feet or made soft sounds of respect. A few still looked doubtful, but their eyes no longer carried mockery. Daniel stepped back from the zenitone, breathing deeply. He had not only played a song. He had revealed something that words could not. He realized then that music was not only about sound. It was about connection. It was the proof that no matter how far apart different worlds were, the heart could still speak the same language. When the gathering ended, many aliens approached him. They asked questions about Earth, about human music, about feelings they had never shared before. Some even requested that he teach them small melodies. Daniel smiled, though he still felt the weight of what had happened. As he returned to his quarters, one thought remained in his mind. This was no longer about a challenge. It was about something larger. He had opened a door, and now the galaxy wanted to see what lay beyond. The hall was quiet. Not the quiet of emptiness, but a quiet that carried weight. The aliens sat in their high seats, silver eyes reflecting the soft glow of the zenitone. Daniel stood at its center, his hands still tingling from the music that had just filled the room. The sound had faded, but its memory remained in every corner, every wall, and in the hearts of those who had heard it. No one spoke. No one moved. The council had witnessed something it had never expected. A human, small and fragile by comparison, had touched the zenitone in a way no alien had ever done. Daniel could feel the tension in the room, the shift from doubt and mockery to something deeper, something almost sacred. The leader of the council rose slowly. Her silver eyes held a new light. She spoke, but not loudly. Her voice flowed directly into Daniel's mind, soft yet carrying authority. "Daniel of Earth, you have done what we did not believe possible. You have shown the voice of your kind. You have made us feel what we thought we could not feel again." The room remained silent, yet the effect of her words hung like a warm presence. Aliens who had mocked him yesterday were now frozen in awe. Some hid tears behind long hands, others blinked slowly, trying to steady themselves. A few, the oldest among them, leaned forward as if the music had unlocked a memory long buried, a feeling forgotten in centuries of their existence. Daniel stepped back from the zenitone, lowering his hands carefully. His chest heaved slightly. He had given everything he could to the music. It was not just about playing notes anymore. It had become a reflection of his world, his people, and his own heart. The zenitone had responded not because it was a difficult instrument, but because it sensed truth. He thought of Earth, the blue and green planet spinning far below in the blackness of space. He remembered morning sunlight on his mother's face, the laughter of his friends, the quiet nights alone at the piano. He realized that all of these memories, all of these feelings, were stronger than any skill or training. They were proof that humans carried something the aliens had almost forgotten: heart. The leader spoke again. "You have left the hall in silence, but it is not empty. It is full. full of your people's spirit, full of life, full of hope. Another council member, an alien with ridges along its forehead, stood and addressed Daniel. We have lived long lives. We have heard instruments that claim to show the heart, but never have we felt what you have given. Your music is not just sound. It is life itself. Daniel nodded softly. He could feel the weight of their respect, but he remained humble. He had not played to impress them. He had played because he loved music, because it was a language that needed no translation. And now, it had spoken across the stars. The silence in the hall stretched. No alien dared to break it, not with words or movement. It was a silence of understanding. The kind of silence that comes after a storm or a revelation. The kind that says more than any speech could. Daniel finally spoke, his voice soft but steady. Music is not only for one person. It is for everyone. It carries what we feel and what we hope for. That is why I play. And I hope that through this, you understand something about humans. The leader nodded, her eyes reflecting the soft glow of the zenitone. We understand. We have felt. And it has changed us. Some of the younger aliens, who had been skeptical, approached slowly. They had questions, not about the zenitone, but about Earth itself. What was life like there? How did humans find music? What stories did their songs tell? Daniel answered gently, speaking simply, because he realized that these beings had never felt the human heart before. The elder of the council, the one who had first welcomed Daniel, smiled faintly. Perhaps we judged your kind too quickly. Perhaps we thought we were beyond feeling, beyond wonder. But you have reminded us that even in a universe filled with knowledge and technology, heart remains the greatest force. Daniel felt a warm weight in his chest. He had not expected his music to have such an effect. He had always played for himself, for comfort and expression. Now he saw that music could cross barriers of language, culture, and even species. The council remained in silent respect, and Daniel stepped away from the zenitone. The crystals around it slowed their spin, bathing the room in a soft glow. For a moment, the hall seemed to breathe with him, as if it too were part of the music. He realized then that the zenitone had chosen him not because of skill, but because of honesty. It responded to his emotions, his memories, and his human heart. The aliens, who had once mocked him, now looked upon him with reverence. They had seen what it meant to play not for applause or approval, but for truth. Daniel's mind wandered to the future. He thought about returning to Earth and sharing what he had experienced. Perhaps his music would not only inspire humans but also create bridges across worlds. He thought of the possibility of teaching these aliens about Earth music, about melody, harmony, and rhythm. He thought of all the ways humans could share their creativity with the galaxy. The leader of the council spoke once more. Daniel of Earth, your song has changed more than our ears. It has touched our hearts. We will speak of this day for generations. You have shown us that even a small being can carry great light within. The zenitone does not lie. You are worthy of our respect. The other council members murmured in agreement. Some bowed slightly, a gesture of honor in their culture. Others simply looked on, silent but transformed. Daniel felt humbled. He had done nothing extraordinary by their standards, only what humans do every day: play music with honesty, emotion, and love. He realized that the music would stay with them, even after he left the hall. The sound of human heart and soul would echo in their memory, teaching them something they had forgotten, that connection, compassion, and emotion were as powerful as any technology or weapon. The council finally dispersed. Aliens moved quietly through the hall, some touching their faces, others glancing back at the zenitone with awe. Daniel stood for a moment, looking at the instrument, feeling a quiet bond. It was more than a tool. It was a bridge between worlds, and he had been the one to cross it first. For the first time since leaving Earth, Daniel felt truly seen. Not as a human, not as a musician, but as someone capable of touching hearts across the stars. The silence of the hall was not emptiness anymore. It was understanding, and in that silence, Daniel found a new kind of music, a music that needed no strings, no notes, only truth. The hall was quiet after Daniel's music, but this time, the quiet felt different. It was no longer heavy with judgment or expectation. It was filled with understanding, as if every alien present had felt the pulse of Earth's heart through the zenitone. Daniel stood at its center, calm and steady, knowing that the council had witnessed something rare, the voice of humanity expressed in pure sound. The leader of the council, tall and regal with silver eyes, stepped forward. She spoke slowly, each word clear and deliberate. Daniel of Earth, you have played not only for us but for your entire world. You have shown what humans carry within: courage, hope, love, and truth. These are qualities that even advanced races sometimes forget. Through your music, you have taught us a lesson. The council remained silent, absorbing her words. Daniel felt their attention on him, but it was no longer heavy or threatening. He sensed respect, curiosity, and even admiration. Some of the younger aliens had tears in their eyes. Some of the older ones looked as if they were remembering emotions long hidden. He bowed his head slightly. I did not play to teach or to prove anything, he said softly. I played because music is how humans share what cannot be said. It is how we reach for each other, even when we are far apart or alone. I am honored that it has touched you. The leader nodded. It has touched us deeply. And it has reminded us of a truth we have overlooked: no matter how advanced a race becomes, the heart is the most powerful force. Knowledge alone cannot create connection. Emotion alone cannot sustain life. But together, they create strength beyond measure. Your people have this strength. Another council member, one who had been skeptical from the start, stepped forward. Its silver eyes were still shining, but now with curiosity rather than doubt. We have lived for centuries. We have seen countless beings rise and fall. We thought we understood all forms of life. But your song, human, has shown us that there is more to strength than skill or power. There is heart, and it is alive in your kind. Daniel felt a warmth inside him. He realized that the zenitone had done more than respond to his music. It had opened a bridge between his world and theirs. For the first time, he understood that what he had done was not just about him as an individual, but about all humanity. The leader raised a hand, and the hall grew still once more. Daniel of Earth, we have learned something that will stay with us forever. Your music carries not only sound but meaning. It carries hope. It carries the truth of life itself. From this day forward, humans will be remembered not for weakness or simplicity, but for the power of their hearts. This is your gift to the galaxy. Daniel's eyes widened. He had never imagined that his small music, played for his own comfort, could have such an effect. He realized then that every note he had ever played, every melody that had filled empty rooms on Earth, had led him to this moment. He stepped away from the zenitone and looked at the council. I am grateful, he said quietly. And I hope that in return, you will carry the music of humanity not only in your ears but in your hearts. Music is not just sound. It is life. It is connection. And it is the hope that keeps us moving forward, even in darkness. The leader's eyes softened, reflecting a new light. We will carry it, Daniel. And not only the music but the lesson it teaches. That life is not measured only by what is done or achieved, but by the courage to feel, to care, and to share truth. Your people have these qualities, and now, we see them clearly. Some of the aliens approached Daniel, not as judges or critics, but as students and observers. They asked him about Earth, about the way humans create music, about the feelings behind each note. Daniel explained simply, telling them about the piano, the instruments, the songs that children sing, and the melodies of everyday life. They listened with rapt attention, absorbing every word as though it were a treasure. The elder of the council, who had first welcomed him, spoke softly. "You have done what no other being could. You have united our understanding with your own. You have shown that even a small race can carry immense strength. This is a lesson we will remember." Daniel smiled faintly, humbled but proud. "If my music can teach even one of you something about humanity, then it has done more than I ever hoped." The leader motioned for the council to rise. They stood in unison, a rare act of respect and acknowledgement. Daniel felt a sense of warmth flow through the room. For the first time, he felt that he was not just a visitor or a curiosity, but a bridge between worlds. The zenitone pulsed softly behind him, as if acknowledging his words. Its crystals glowed gently, reflecting colors Daniel had never seen, yet they felt familiar, like home. The instrument had carried the human heart across space and time, and it had been answered with understanding. The council leader spoke one last time. "From this day forward, humanity will be seen differently. Not only as a young and small species, but as one capable of great courage, compassion, and creativity. You have reminded us that no being is too small to change the universe with truth and heart." Daniel bowed once more, quietly. He knew he had done more than play music. He had given a part of himself, a part of Earth, and had been heard. He felt the weight of responsibility but also the lightness of hope. As he turned to leave the hall, some aliens followed him, wanting to learn more. Others remained in silent contemplation, touched by what they had experienced. Daniel realized that his journey had only begun. Music had opened a door, and now, there were countless possibilities ahead. He stepped out of the hall and looked around the ship, no longer feeling small or uncertain. He had played not for fame, not for recognition, but for truth. And in return, he had received something far greater: understanding, connection, and the knowledge that even across the stars, the human heart could be heard. For the first time, Daniel felt that Earth was not alone. Across the galaxy, beings had felt his music, and through it, they had seen the soul of humanity. And that, he knew, was a victory greater than any applause, greater than any recognition. As he walked back toward his quarters, the zenitone behind him pulsed once more, softly, as if in farewell. Daniel smiled, knowing that what he had played would remain with them, just as the memory of their astonished faces would remain with him.